All right, joining us now is New York Times immigration reporter Louise Ferré-Saint-Denis. Louise, I'm glad you're back because this article was great and I really wanted to talk to you about it. I was just mentioning before we lost you a little bit, the diversity of individuals that are in these shelters really surprised me. And I'm wondering, after spending all that time in this world, what surprised you most and what you learned writing this article?
Thanks for having me again. Yeah, I think the diversity and just the melting pot of cultures living in this shelter system that's made up of 200 different buildings all across New York City. You know, we hear a lot about Latin Americans. Most of the folks living there are from Venezuela, and there's been a lot of attention on them over the past 2 years. But we met people from Russia, from China, from Mauritania and West Africa, Senegal, really all over the world, more than 150 countries, more than 110 languages, all in one shelter system scattered across the city, right? And everyday New Yorkers see these shelters, encounter migrants sleeping in them, but we had never really gotten a close look inside as we did this time.
How are the families doing in these shelters? I know one of these shelters is the Roosevelt Hotel, and I've walked by it a couple times. The last time I was in New York, I was absolutely freezing, and I remembered walking by and seeing all these families with little kids out in the cold. You know, a lot of them are from countries that don't really experience that level of cold. How are they doing? Are they getting what they need, and where do they go from here?
Yeah, families have up to 60 days to stay in the shelter.
Louise,
the ones in hotel.
I'm sorry, I think we're losing you. If you want to try one more time. Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit, but try one more time. Let's see if we can get this connection to go.
Yeah, the families living in the hotels are doing relatively well despite their circumstances. Many are applying for asylum. Their children are enrolled in schools. Those who are living in some of these tent facilities, which are farther out from the city center, out in a Brooklyn airfield, are having perhaps a tougher time. The conditions are more bare, more minimal. But over and over, what we heard from people is gratitude for having been given a shelter in the first place, and a lot of determination to get out, be self-sufficient, and contribute to the U.S.
One thing I've noticed with not just in New York, but some of these migrant shelters across the U.S. is people may support it on a macro conceptual level, but it's different when it's going in on their block in their city. And there's been some concerns from some New Yorkers about the financial drain that they say migrants are taking on the city. Are the people in these shelters aware of that? Is it something they're concerned about? And did they talk to you about it?
Yeah, I mean, the shelters have been very divisive in New York. There's been quality of life issues, complaints about flashes of violence outside some of them. So it's poured in and bled into the politics of the city. And some migrants are aware of that. They understand that crimes committed by some migrants in New York and elsewhere in the country have sort of stereotyped the rest of the immigrant population. And they're ashamed by that. They're embarrassed, some of them. And they always try to make the effort to sort of underscore that they're not all the same, that they feel like they're paying the price of the actions of a few of them. And so that comes across, you know, in many conversations I have with migrants over the past few months.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Luis. It's a really lovely tapestry you paint in that article. I recommend everyone should go take a look.